Go with your gut or weigh every option?
Weigh every option.
Go with your gut.
This is going to be a really good interview. Welcome to another episode of After Work Drinks. This time we're focused on founders, people who have actually started something from scratch and are still standing, hopefully. Alicia Iveson from Hijinks and Claire Hynes from Mr. President. Welcome to the sofa.
Thank you for having us.
I've got obviously a special interest in founders. We've just hit 10 years, but let's start from the beginning. How did you both start the business and did you expect to start your own business?
To be honest, we started quite accidentally. It was just luck that a particular client came to Dare with an opportunity that they couldn't support. So me and Nick Emmel, who was one of my founding partners, just thought we could start an agency with this. Why don't we take it away and see if we can start our own thing? So we took the client and we sort of discreetly started our own business on the side. So it was just opportunistic. And from there, within 6 months, we had a fantastic business. We opened an office in Soho Square and we were up and running. And none of it was really in the plan. And I found myself suddenly like with a new agency, 2 small babies, and just like figuring it out as we went along. So it was exciting. I mean, it wasn't like a particularly brave leap. It didn't feel it at the time. It just felt like, oh, just following our noses and following the opportunity.
So I like that. I like how it's sort of an accidental founder scenario. You never said, I'm dying to open my own business and that's what I've always wanted to do. It's an itch I've always wanted to scratch. But was that for you?
Not quite as accidental, but I'd sort of bounced out of my last 2 places. Quite ugly, I would say, both exits. And I sort of started to feel that the industry really wasn't like a place for me anymore. I remember one of the quotes from one of the leaders in my previous agency. She was like, you just have this real issue with authority, which feels like a bit of the narrative that has existed throughout my life. And I sort of reconnected with Tam and Mark, who are now my co-founders. And we just had a really nice drink in the pub. And we just lamented on all the things that were kind of feeling a bit shit. And they were already in conversations about trying to do something. They potentially had a client and they were sort of kind of getting on with things in the background. And then I just sort of joined their ranks. And from there, I think I started late in the summer and we realized that actually, I think we could do this thing.
You both have co-founders.
Yes.
Can you tell me about your co-founders? And I'm actually a solo founder, which is very lonely. Sometimes. And it's meant I've needed to create a community around myself to help with some hard decision making or just to bat things off each other. So tell me about the joys of having, maybe the pros and cons of having co-founders and what the sticky bits have been in terms of the relationship.
In starting the business, I was conscious, like I was the kind of CEO, right? So I still felt that that sort of solo founder responsibility you're talking about, which was unfounded in a way. It was silly, but I felt like it was all on my shoulders. I'm the CEO. I need to make all the decisions. I need to run things. I need to make the business successful. And it took me a while to realize, actually, I've got these guys around me who are also founders and in it with me. Like the responsibility is shared. Why am I taking it on myself? Why do I feel it so
Do you think that's because you're an account handler?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And also, and the sort of like slightly awkward thing about it, I suppose, is that it feels like they're the talent. You've got this amazing strategist, like the brainiest planner you've ever come across, incredible creatives. They turn up and perform. My job is to run the business and not fuck up. So it took me a long time to go, actually, no, this is a team effort and we're sharing the responsibility.
Tell me about your co-founders.
So I have 2 creative co-founders. And if you put the 3 of us together, you sort of be like, how does that work? You know, like, where are the kind of like common shared grounds? And actually we unite around the business and the business, like first and foremost. And it's incredibly helpful because it takes out any like emotion or, you know, we're really focused on like how we come together to get the best out of each other and how to do the best thing for the business. And I think we make thousands of decisions a day, right? I think last week I got to the point where I could not make one single more decision. And there are times where you just need someone else to make that decision or just to be told that it is the right decision.
Do you ever do this and when you go out to eat and you're really thankful that someone else is ordering for you?
100%.
You can't make another decision.
100%.
So I always think the founder's life looks quite glamorous from the outside.
Oh my God.
I really do. Like the word founder, it's like, oh, you own your own business. How exciting. But it's not. You're in the nitty gritty. You do every single job there is to do, whether it's like toilets,
Bins
or
and toilets.
bins, or all the things you said. But what's been, I guess, some of the best and worst parts of being a founder?
Best part of being a founder, undoubtedly, is being able to do things in the way that you want to do them, that feels good, authentic, and like the right way of doing things, right? So it may not work for everyone, but if it works for me, if it works for my co-founders, it works for the team, it works for the client, we tend to think that it's kind of working, right? And we've set, like when we started, I had a younger child. So we were in the post-COVID era, right? So things like flexible hybrid working, or being able to work from anywhere, or being able to do the pickups without feeling guilty, or being able to come online at the weekend, just make sure you schedule emails. Like all of that stuff is like hygiene for us, right?
Yeah.
So like that is undoubtedly the best thing about being a founder, to be able to manage your time and find a team that also want to work in a similar way. That doesn't work for everyone, right? But if you subscribe to Hijinks, like these are the sort of expectations on how we're going to work together. So that is undoubtedly the best thing. I would say the worst thing about it is just often, I think, stuff sort of like happens to you than rather by design, right? So it's like, we've had an incredible, successful 2 years. And I know you create your own luck. Of course, we've created our own luck. But even though you talk a lot about being in control, there are times where often I do not feel in control, but we are in control of how we're going to respond to those things. So I think that's the thing that I find causes me a bit of anguish, right? Like the uncontrollable. We always talk about expect the unexpected. We will go to bed one night with one thing and we will wake up the next day to another thing. And to your point around people's personal circumstances, or the world is imploding right now, like I can't control those things. And I think that as a founder just means that I feel the weight of it a little bit more.
And actually, because we've got such a great culture and this fantastic team, there's very few things that we can't sort of like navigate.
Agree.
And we do it with good humor, and we enjoy it. Like even when it's a bit, I always think of it like a really small boat with a really, really good crew, and you're kind of going up and down the waves. But as long as you've got your brilliant crew, you can just get through it.
I believe all of us sitting here are all about culture.
Yes.
Company culture. And actually, Claire, I remember when you and Nick founded the company, you went, I want to do great work with great people and enjoy coming into work every day. I don't know if you remember saying that, but yeah, I really loved that, and that really stuck with me. We are culture people. Like, it's very important to us to create the right culture and the culture that feels right for us founders. But then you also have this fiscal responsibility next to you. So how do you pair up the two so that it's not just about happy, fun people?
I mean, like, we are innately happy, fun people, right? But also the people that we have around us are bloody good. And we've had happy, fun people that aren't very good, and they haven't lasted very long. And we've had really good people that aren't very happy and fun, and they haven't lasted very long either. And I think it's like, when you're in a fast-paced small business, you have to keep up. And you've been able to connect us to some amazing people through that too. But yeah, I think you have to be both, otherwise it just doesn't work.
I didn't even pay you for that plug, did I?
No, you didn't.
Nice. Yeah, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. If you just said the two are kind of completely intertwined. And I think it depends a little bit on what you're making and what you're selling. So if you want to sell hours and grind out the work, then having a team who are there for hours and hours a day, you know, doing maximum efficiency so the spreadsheet looks brilliant, that might work for you. But if you're selling ideas and creativity and strategic thinking, you need people to be, you know, at their best. And that does mean having a degree of flexibility, fun, enjoyment in their work. I always think I want people's joy and passion, not their blood, sweat and tears. And you know, if you build a business and drive it for blood, sweat and tears, people are unhappy, they burn out, they leave, and as every good recruiter knows, it costs you, right? If people leave, bringing new people in is
retention's key.
Yeah,
retention is the key, and retention, I shouldn't be saying this into a camera, but due to my business, but retention is the thing that is golden. If you could do it all again, what would you do differently?
I wish I had clocked on sooner that I could choose the culture of the agency, what we cared about, how we set ourselves up. I think in the early days, we might have set ourselves up in the model of what we thought an agency looked like, based on our prior experience. So, you know, office in Soho Square with big rent and a receptionist, and we all turned up every day of the week and did everything in the very conventional way it was fine. But actually, it took me a few years to go, I don't need to do it this way. Personally, like, I had small children and I just left them at home, paid for childcare. I didn't have any of that flexible working that now is just taken as standard. It might have been the times, but also I could have made it suit me, but I didn't. I just sort of carried on like
you didn't know 13 years ago.
I don't think so. I think it was the times a little bit. It would have
100% was the times, right?
But I'm like a bit annoyed I didn't get that sort of flexibility.
Because again, we sort of came together and it happened.
Yeah.
You know, we never really articulated what our business plan would look like, what success would look like, how we would navigate our way through these next like 2, 5, 10, whatever years, and then having something to kind of like ratify ourselves against and be like, is this what we set out to do? I think that would have been incredibly helpful when we find ourselves in quite like sticky times, challenging times, to be like, look where we are on this journey, right? To be able to have those moments of reflection, to be able to have a difficult conversation, just to be able to, like, I think, harness ourselves a little bit more in the time that we're in a bigger picture. I think sometimes we get very focused on the thing right in front of us. You know, there's a very live fire that we are fighting in front of our nose right now, and we sort of forget about everything else. And I think just keeping on having that bigger picture is so important, but also it's quite hard to have that perspective.
What is the one piece of advice you'd like to give someone starting an agency today?
Partners, get your partners right, get the people around you right. So in that founding team, it's got to be with people that you really trust.
Yes.
And that you would walk through fire for. And that's certainly how I feel about my partners. Like, we're so different as individuals, but I'm so grateful that I've got these guys as my founding team. It takes time to develop your team into the right shape to be sort of perfect for the sort of overall picture. So I would say just investing in the right people and making the decisions early on. We all make mistakes and hire the wrong people occasionally. It's just like, get it done. And figure out how to part ways and move on, because in a small business, one bad character or somebody who's pulling in the opposite direction can do so much damage. But you get the right people, you get good people on board, and it can lift you to places you couldn't have expected to get to yourself.
And my advice would be trying to get to a model and a way of working that is not all about the founders. We're still in a bit of a position with a lot of our clients where we are the business to them, and that can't be. That's not
after 2 years, that's not unexpected.
Yeah.
But you're right, moving forward.
Yeah.
Who are those people?
Yeah.
I think I should probably, if I was starting again, I'd probably need to find some partners to do it with after all this. That's it, ladies. Thank you so much for hanging out on the sofa. I'm going to cheers my empty.
It's been a privilege to sit on this sofa.
Really appreciate it.
I've learned loads, so yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
What was your favourite ad of 2025?
The Waitrose Christmas ad.
Me too.
Because that experience actually happened to me, and I looked up and there was Kate Blanchett pushing her trolley full of Christmas stuff.
Did you talk to her?
I did. I was like, hello. And she just smiled back at me, like 99% cheekbones. So when I saw the Waitrose Christmas ad with Kira, I was like, that is literally, that can happen.
Stole your story.
Yeah.